ES finally put in its first red week since July. I'll talk about whether or not we have more downside coming or if we're going to see all-time highs first, as well as my trade plan for this week and the top setups to watch. We had a clear change in character last week as we finally saw the failure of prior day lows and then saw lower highs and lower lows into the end of the week. ES actually started the week off by defending 6704 and rallying to new all-time highs, and then saw that rally stall into SPX 6700. So we got some distribution at the highs and then failed the small base under all-time high, and so that started a steady downtrend the rest of the week where sellers were finally able to display some strength and able to defend some key spots on back tests. And we saw this pattern of liquidation and then sellers defending the back test, liquidation under the prior day low, sellers defend the back test, and then makes new lows. So lower highs and lower lows all week. 6731 failed, and then sellers defended the back test here. 6704 failed. Sellers stepped in and defended the back test, and then the most aggressive sell-off was under 6682 on Thursday. After the Thursday sell-off, buyers were finally able to put in a short-term bottom and a relief rally back into 6682 and 6704. Despite the momentum from sellers, there were still some nice long opportunities, particularly around 6704 and 6682 supports, and especially the failed breakdown of low of day at 6631 on Thursday, which saw a really nice short covering squeeze back up into 6682 and 6704 on Friday. This week has left us with several important structures that we'll be watching for next week, as all of these failure points are potential areas to trade around, where if sellers are not able to defend these back tests at 6704, 6722 to 6731, and especially 6745, reclaiming these areas can see short covering squeezes and progressive short covering back up towards all-time highs. So those areas will be very important for sellers to defend. There'll be areas to watch for both shorts and then potential longs if buyers are able to accept above those areas. The economic calendar for next week is pretty full also, so it'll be important to be aware. A lot of data catalysts that can affect price action next week, so be cautious of making too strong of a lean towards any direction until we see the reaction of some of these. We've got JOLTS, job data, consumer confidence early in the week, as well as non-farm payrolls, NFP data, as well as Fed speakers and end of quarter issues that may cause price action to be a little bit more difficult. So make sure you're aware of those throughout the week. So overall, what should we look for next week? Now, we're only 2% off the all-time high, so no need to be too bearish yet. But if we see failure of the prior week low, especially a reoffer on a back test of the prior week low area around that 6624 to 6619 area, especially failure of the 6611 FOMC low, then we may be in for a little bit larger correction from all-time highs. As long as those areas hold, then this is just another dip before a run back to all-time highs, and the key for that will be for buyers to first sustain above 6704 early in the week, which likely can take us higher into that back test of that 6731 and 6745 area. And if you see sellers drop the ball on those back tests, if buyers are able to sustain and show higher time frame acceptance above those areas, likely all-time high and higher comes pretty quickly before the end of the week. Now let's talk about the trade plan for next week. This area 6682 to 6704 is probably going to be pretty choppy, but early in the week, watch for buyers' ability to sustain above 6704. If we're able to clear this area with force, that's likely a long for a run back towards 6745. Then on the other side, if there's weakness early on below 6682, this likely favors rotation back down towards the lower end of the last week's range towards 6657 and 67 66.43. As far as specific short setups to watch, I would look for shorts in that 67 to 22 to 67 to 31 zone. On a back test of that area, look for shorts. Responsive sellers in that area to get short for a move back to 67.04. You could also watch for shorts on the back test of 67.45, likely sellers last line to defend for a lower high. Above there, we likely make progress well above the current all-time high. You would also want to be short if there is failure of the prior week low at 66.24. If that area fails and then is reoffered, especially, you'll want to be short for a move down into 65.89 and potentially 65.16 next week. The top setups to watch for areas to be long would be back tests of 66.82 early in the week. Then later I would watch for a failed breakdown of 66.57. And then finally, if we're able to make progress down into the prior week low, my first watch there would be a failed breakdown, a trap underneath the prior week low that reclaims. I would want to be long for a move back towards 66.82 if we were to see that. Then if we do get failure of the prior week low and we see larger rotation and sell-off back into 65.16, I would watch that area for a bounce at the back test of the prior range low. So a good spot to watch for longs, just for a bounce trade if we do get a larger sell-off back into that zone. That's what I'll be watching for on ES this week. If you want to trade live with real pros every day, join us at Trade with Insight.